but he had to rule. Here comes that, the broken glass and the jewel once again. He was very much ashamed and morose to think that although he had gone to Madhavan, giving up the kingdom of his father, and he had gotten a spiritual master like Narada Muni, he was still thinking of revenge against his stepmother and wanted to occupy an exalted post within this material world. So he ruled for 36,000 years. There's some things that happened in between, obviously. When that rulership was over, he went to Badrikashram and he resumed the same type of worship that he did, austerity, that when he was a little boy. Very quickly, he achieved that same elevated state of absorption in meditation upon the personality of Godhead. Because of his transcendental bliss, incessant tears flowed from his eyes, his heart melted, and there was shivering and standing of hairs all over his body. Thus transformed in a trance of devotional service, Dhruva Maharaj completely forgot his bodily existence, and thus he immediately became liberated from material bondage. There we see Lord Vishnu, at least the Vishnu Dutas came, descended, and took him away to the Lord's abode. Dhruva saw the foremost airplane descend from the sky, illuminating all directions like the rising moon. So he paid obeisances to the Vishnu Dutas. He circumambulated the Vishnu Vimana. He performed his morning duties because he was very fixed in performing his duties. And he is ready to go to the spiritual world. When Dhruva Maharaj was attempting to get on the transcendental Vimana, he saw death personified approach him. Not caring for death, however, he took advantage of the opportunity to put his feet on the head of death. And thus, he got up on the airplane, which was as big as a house. And the final key, number 7, is gratitude to his mother. Wait a minute, I can't go without my mother, because I'm in this position because of her. As the airplane was about to ascend, Dhruva remembered Suniti, who was his Pata Pradarshika Guru. We often say Vartma Pradarshika Guru. Pata means the same, the path. Pradarshika Guru, the Guru who shows the way. And the Vishnu Duta said, no problem. Siddhartha Vimana, that's your mother. That came for her. Gandharvas and demigods showered flowers and sounded musical instruments as Dhruva ascended back home, back to Godhead. Now, the back to Godhead that he went to was Dhruvaloka. And there's some language given by Jiva Goswami, a prapanchika Vaikuntha, of something that's in this material world, the spiritual planet within the material world. So here we are. Here's the 7 keys. Respond rather than react. Approach a spiritual caregiver for how to handle difficult situations. When you present honestly and receive blessings from that exalted personality, in this case Narada. Follow with determination and discipline. Receive the Lord's mercy or strength beyond our own strength. Genuine humility when proceeding upon receiving that grace of Krishna. Feel some, whatever material side was there and the aspirations, etc., and carry forward with your duties on the transcendental platform. And with a final, is this great sense of gratitude, in this case to his mother, but gratitude to those who have helped you along the way. And the last portion, Accept the key of acceptance, and all the other 7 keys will be yours. I left a few slides out. There's some acceptance message that goes along with Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and the Dhruva story. Step by step, there's letting go of the material circumstance and moving step by step towards the spiritual shelter. And how does that journey begin? For us, it begins with the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and how we approach and have regard for the mantra and those who give us the mantra and help support us in chanting of the mantra. So that's an introduction to the Dhruva story. Step by step. Bhaktivinoda calls it a padati. Hati means process, and pada, step-by-step process, going from sakam to nishkam bhakti. Kind of like where all of us are, having material desires to go to a place where there's no more material desire. Step by step. So let's see if there's some discussion. You can do one.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for the wonderful, sweet narrations as always. Today my first question is, Maharaj, usually it is mentioned that when we chant the holy name, Hare Krishna mantra, so the process is gradual and Krishna enters in our heart by the process of chanting. When all the anardhas in the heart will be removed from the heart, like lust, greed, anger, basically kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya.
That's pretty quick.
No, after a prolonged time of chanting,
okay.
then all the anardhas will be gone, and when everything is gone from the heart, all the anardhas, then Krishna enters into our heart. That means that when we purify our heart with the chanting of the holy name, then Krishna enters into our heart. But in case of Dhruva Maharaja, basically he was chanting the mantra with the material desire, basically, and he's greedy for the kingdom.
He was what?
He's greedy for the kingdom. Greedy.
Yeah.
Still he was chanting the holy name, and when he was chanting the holy name, he still had the desire.
No, did he? Are you sure he did? Are you sure he did? Are you sure he did?
I don't know.
Okay, well...
then how can he had the darshan of the Supreme Lord in front?
Do you think, is it possible that desire dissipated?
Dissipated?
Dissipated, diminished, went away? Do you think it's possible? That's what happened.
Mm-hmm. So a little...
As he was getting mercy, as the light was going on, the darkness was being driven away.
So, can I have a small follow-up on that, Maharaj?
You want me to say more about what I just said?
No. I have another little follow-up on that. So when he had the darshan of the Lord, still at that time he said that he lost all his interests and his heart was completely satisfied. When he has the darshan of the Lord, he was completely satisfied. So he didn't had any desires at that particular time. But still, the Vishnu wanted him to rule the kingdom for 36,000 years. So in case of Ajamila, he was not taken by the Lord immediately, but because Ajamila wanted some more purification. But in case of Dhruva Maharaj, all his contamination gone, and he was completely purified in the heart, and he was completely satisfied. But still,
keep it simple. Don't go too long. Keep it simple. So, what's your question?
My question is, why Krishna Vishnu immediately...
He doesn't have to do the same thing with everybody. Circumstances were quite different. Quite different. Do you need to spell out the differences, or you can understand the differences? You understand the differences? No, you don't see the difference. A Jamila became a very sinful man. Dhruva didn't become a sinful man, young boy. A Jamila became addicted to sinful activity. By circumstance, by super soul's mercy, he happened to name his son Narayan. But he wasn't seeking shelter of Narayan. I mean, etc. There's so many differences. Dhruva had material desire, but the material desire was, retribution and material kingdom, and I'll show them, I'll get back. I mean, it wasn't elevated, but he was Vishnu, 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 Vishnu. And Vishnu came. It's very different. It's worlds apart. So the Lords were going to reciprocate the same way.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay. Anyone else? Would you like to have a little service, and you can pass the microphone from one person to the next person? Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the lecture. So my question was, why did Narad Muni give the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya to Dhruva Maharaj?
Why not?
Not the Hare Krishna mantra? Or
Well, doesn't have to be. I mean, in this age of Kali, the verse from Kali Sanartana Upanishad specifically says, in this age of Kali, this is the Maha Mantra. But any name of the personality of Godhead is sufficient. Any name of the personality of Godhead is sufficient. Doesn't have to be the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It's the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for us because it's there in the Vedas and because that's the mantra that Mahaprabhu chanted. But any of the names. We also chant other names. We Nrsimha mantra, Panchatattva mantra. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have a question about Dhruvaloka. Is there any details about how anyone can go to Dhruvaloka, and what is there in Dhruvaloka?
That'll come at the last class or the last chapter, but I'll say something. In Gaudiya Vaishnav teaching, it's not. I'm unaware of any example where someone is aspiring for and therefore attains Dhruvaloka. There are circumstances that I've read where, is supposing someone the circumstance for attaining Dhruvaloka goes like this. The person has not yet become qualified for entering Vaikuntha, but their devotion has become very, very elevated. So they may go to Dhruvaloka, as it's, again, this terminology is to, I think the Sanskrit term is prapanchika Vaikuntha. Means a spiritual planet in the material world, as opposed to a spiritual planet beyond the range of the material atmosphere, in the spiritual sky, in other words. Now, that place, Dhruvaloka, is a spiritual planet, and that spiritual planet is within the material universe. that planet remains after the rest of the universe is destroyed. So it's not perishable. It's not material, because everything material is perishable, influenced by time. So I can't recall the specifics to your question of under what circumstances. I mean, I've never read that anyone has desired that, but I've read somewhere, and I can't remember where, that one may attain that if their transcendental attachment to a form of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual realm has not matured. They may go there. Because we've been discussing evenings in the 9th chapter of Canto 1, the story of Grandfather Bhishma. Prabhupada is really clear. Bhishma went to Vaikuntha. He was a worshipper of four-armed Narayana, and that's the destination that he attained, the Vaikuntha realm of the four-armed Narayana. Although he knew all kinds of things about Krishna as being a lover of the gopis and etc., etc., etc. He knew all those things about Krishna. His heart's attraction was the four-armed form of Narayan, and Krishna is the chariot driver of Arjuna, with a whip in one hand and the reins of Arjuna's horse in the other hand, and the whole scene that he saw. His hair made ashen by the dust of the hooves, and perspiration coming down his forehead, and the wounds from Bhishma Dev's sharp arrows. And so he attained Vaikuntha. One attains that destination that when one becomes fully qualified or purified, that destination that is the hankering of one's heart, or the object of devotion of one's heart, with complete absorption and nothing else but, then that's qualification for attaining the spiritual kingdom. So I'm not doing a really good job answering your question because I can't remember the exact reference. But I have an idea of, I may be able to find out over the next few days. And if I'm able to find out, I'll get back to you with the answer to specific answer to your question.
Thank you.
Hi, Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for the lecture. How do we understand how Dhruva Maharaj took to austerities very quickly? Is it just by the mercy of Narad Muni, or he was this very small
Can you take
boy?
the mask down, because I can't, it's muffled.
Okay. How Dhruva Maharaj took to taking up austerities very quickly, right?
He did austerities for sure.
Yeah, being a small boy.
Yeah, he was a small boy for sure.
Yeah, how do we understand? Was it by the mercy of Narad Muni, or some?
Well, he had capacity. There's mercy, yes. Capacity, yes. Do we have capacity like that? No. But he did. I mean, he was a Kshatriya boy, but he was also amongst Kshatriya boys. He was a pretty exceptional Kshatriya boy. So both. He had unique qualification, and he had a lot of mercy. Let's do this. How was it possible for Raghunath Das Goswami to subsist on what he subsisted on? For us, it's not possible. It's not only extraordinary, it's superhuman. Raghunath Das is, what to speak of the austerities of Dhruva. No, it's a different yuga, unique person, pretty strong desire. He wanted a kingdom. He not just he wanted his father's kingdom. You know what he wanted. He wanted a king that was better than his father's father. So his father is Uttandapada. Who is his father's father? Swayambhuva Manu. Better than his father's father's father. Better than Lord Brahma. He wanted a kingdom in the spiritual world. And he was a little boy. But it wasn't just talk. He was like, as he wanted to hear about, he was determined. He had qualification. How could Raghunath Das Goswami subsist eating as little as he was eating? We couldn't do it. So mercy, but also some unique qualification. That's how. And a different yuga. People that were from other yugas, they did austerities that were not austerities that people in this age can do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, madam.
Okay. Yeah, just wait till other people.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question is, how did the entire universe become choked up by Dhruva not breathing? How am I to understand that?
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But it had to do with, it's like her question, that the austerities that he was doing had a universal impact. They were so intense. Not just because he was a little boy, like, miraculous, but because he was so intense. I mean, it's a nice question, but that's my understanding. Again, I can research to see if our acharyas comment something further on how that was possible. Because let's do this. There were other yogis that did meditation, like, for example, the prachetas were meditating underwater for thousands of years. They weren't breathing. Otherwise, they drown because you can't breathe underwater. So, at least my understanding is because he was so powerful, he had become so powerful that with restricting his breathing, it's stopping the movement of air in the universe because he had become so powerful. Let me see if I can find a comment by our acharyas in that section.
Maharaj, actually, whoever wants to see the God, they go to forest. Like so many pastimes we have heard. Like now Dhruva Maharaj has to go to forest in order to meditate on.
Well, that's what his mother said. He didn't have to. He wanted to know how to find Vishnu. And she said, I'm just a lady in the kingdom here. But I've heard that sages go to the forest. They somehow find Vishnu. So it's not that he had to go to the forest.
My continuation is like, if they had to do so much austerity to see the God, to Krishna or Vishnu, so what is the condition? Like I'm talking about myself.
Okay.
Like in this material condition, material hankering, is there any chance to see God or to go back to God? Of course, you told that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us our Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But is that only, is in this material contaminated world I'm living in, is it possible to see God or like becoming pure? Do
you listen to Prabhupada's lectures? Of course. And how many times have you heard? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And now you're asking me, is it possible? He's not pulling our leg. Do you have to have some qualification? Yes. But the process sufficient to bring qualification? Yes. And the qualification is not just you do austerities or you chant Hare Krishna mantra a certain number of times and the bell rings. It's not a mechanical process. But the process is there, and the process, when applied, then A and B. The heart can become cleansed and purified, and B, Krishna can be merciful and show himself. And it's both. Krishna is not our order supplier. If he wants, he can show himself. He can show himself to an unqualified person. But what's the unqualified person going to see? They're not going to see Krishna as the qualified person would see Krishna. So the first business is to become qualified. So now back to your question. Is it possible to become qualified? Yes. Otherwise, what are we doing? And, in Prabhupada's a liar. We're not going to call Prabhupada a liar. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. This human form of life is meant. I'm just in the mornings, I've been listening to Prabhupada's lectures on Bhagavad Gita. Currently, he just finished chapter 6. And in chapter 6, one verse that he spoke in 5 different places was the unsuccessful yogi verse. Arjuna wants to know what happens if one starts and doesn't finish. And Prabhupada was saying that all of you boys and girls, you were yogis and you didn't finish. And now, just by some slight association, you're quickly taking up the yoga process again, bhakti yoga this time. So don't wait for another lifetime. Finish up your business. And that's just, young American kids. What to speak of yourself? You have some scars far beyond those young American kids. You have credential far beyond many. And not just, it's not a shaming thing, it's an honoring thing, and it's a fact. So, finish up your business. So now, back to your question, is it possible? Of course it's possible. And the goal is not just Krishna shows himself to you, then the bell rings. The goal is that one's heart becomes pure. And when Krishna is ready, Krishna is ready. Make your heart pure. Finish up your business. Follow the process. Exactly what these keys have been saying. Take the instructions given by our founder Acharya, and in his books and in our previous Acharya's teachings, and you apply them carefully. Cheto darpana marjanam. Make the heart pure. Is it possible? That's what you're asking. Of course. Is there atmosphere surcharged with opposition? Of course. Is it possible? Of course. It's not like you want a kingdom. That's not an obstacle for you. There's some other ones. And we all have some. That was one of the questions at the beginning. But the step-by-step, in principle, procedures are there. And you apply the procedures or the process with faith. Exactly. For a long period of time, like this mantra example, for a long period of time, every day, with faith. 3 things. Is it possible? Yes. Is it gradual? For most of us. Why? Why does it have to be gradual? Because we're attached. We're not attached to misery. We're attached to the sources of misery. So how do we become detached? become attached to Krishna and to that which is fully spiritual, the mantra, association of devotees, etc. Scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, deity, prasadam, an easy one. Become attached to that which is fully spiritual. And that will give strength to become free from the attachment to the sources of misery, or the anchors that are keeping us stuck and not progressing how we think we could. Anyone else?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. Your brother up front. Way up front, right up front. Is it a good one? Okay, good. Take your mask down so I can hear you better.
Like, how do you control your anger? Like,
What? Anger?
like Dhruva Maharaj had like anger towards his stepmother and stepbrother.
He sure did. He had big time anger.
Yeah, how do you control it from?
By purification. You know, if you get association of Narada Muni, you can control it. But then you got to follow what Narada Muni says. Can you do that? No. Then you can't control your anger. But purification is the purification is how anger becomes controlled. There's a proper place for anger, transcendental anger, and that's when a devotee is blasphemed. That's a proper place to repose anger. We don't tolerate that. But then you don't necessarily have to smash somebody or or harm them physically or something. But transcendental anger has its place. Narottam Das Thakur teaches, like Hanuman, right?
Yeah.
He showed anger, didn't he?
Yes.
He sure did. He burnt the whole city of Lanka, and it wasn't like, I'm big and tough. I'll show them. It wasn't like that kind of an attitude. It was service to Ram and protecting Sita. And then you know what? When he came, he was outside the city of Lanka. He was thinking, oh, I did this horrible thing. The whole city of Lanka is burned. Maybe Sita was harmed. How thoughtless of me. Then a voice came from the sky. She's safe. Don't worry. So even when using transcendental anger like Hanuman did, you got to be careful. So your question, how to control it, purification, get association of those who are freed from it, and get nice and hang out with them. At least hang out with their instructions, because Dhruva didn't stay with Narada. Narada went off, and Dhruva went off to Madhavan. But he followed everything that Dhruva said, that Narada said. His anger was gone. The get back at his stepmother was gone. It started there, but that's what was her question. It went away. It went away. Something else took its place. A very strong desire for shelter of Lord Vishnu's service. Let's do this. Where does anger come from? How do you get rid of anger? You find out where it came from. Where does anger come from?
When like
Bhagavad Gita. You know Bhagavad Gita?
yes.
What's the verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says where anger comes from? Rajo Guna Samudbhava. You know the verse?
Not yet.
Kamesha Krodesha Rajo Guna Samudbhava. You don't know the verse? You know what Raja Guna means, right? You know what Guna means? Mode of nature, right?
Yes.
Rajaguna means passion.
King.
Passion. Rajaguna is passion, the mode of passion. So anger comes from Rajaguna. When there's Rajaguna, it's strong desire. When strong desire is frustrated, it's anger. It says anger is the younger brother of passion. Younger brother. Anger is the younger brother of passion. Not that he's passion and you're anger, but... So how you get rid of it? You make a disconnect from passion. What's passion? I gotta get da-da-da-da-da. I didn't get da-da-da-da-da. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. And you know what the cause is? It's that person or that person, or it's never inside here, it's always out there. Now I'm angry. I'm going to do something. That's passion that later transforms into wrath. That's what anger is. So you want to get rid of it, you have to get rid of passion. How do you get rid of passion? Come to goodness. How do you come to goodness? So you cultivate the qualities of those who are sadhus. You know, hang out with Narada Muni and learn how to be sadhu-like. You like Prahlad?
Yes.
Yeah, so hang out with Prahlad.
Okay.
He's a good one to hang out with. He can be a hero for you. Just follow because he's your hero. Because young people have a hero somewhere. Maybe it's a whoever, without giving mundane options. Young people have heroes. Maybe it's Harry Potter, or maybe it's Superman, or maybe it's something or something or something. You make make Prahlad your hero. When I was a new devotee, once upon a time, 50 some years ago, I was a new devotee, and Prahlad was one of my heroes. And you know what? It was really amazing, because what we used to do in everyday Sankirtan, we didn't have very many of Prabhupada's books. We just had Back to Godhead magazine. That's what we distributed. Invitation to the temple with the mantra on it, and the Back to Godhead magazine. That's what we did. And then all of a sudden, here came a little pamphlet, you know, like an 86-page, something like that, smaller than page size than Back to Godhead magazine, was the teachings of Prahlad. And it was like, wow, Prabhupada heard my prayer. So we get to distribute the teachings of Prahlad. Not just distribute the teachings, but read it, meditate on it, and he's a hero. He's something you can aspire to be like. And that will help you get over anger, because he's transcendental. He's beyond anger. Hang out with Prahlad. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay. Back in the corner.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. As we were talking about Prahlad, I was thinking Prahlad received the instruction while he was in the womb of
Yes.
his mom.
Yes.
Do we hear anything about Dhruva Maharaj, like whether he got any spiritual instruction before he met Narad Muni through his mother or anybody?
We don't
or
hear
was
anything
it his
about
first
it.
chance?
He may have, he may not have.
Okay.
Now, his Swayambhuva Manu was his grandfather. And Swayambhuva Manu is a pure devotee. He's one of the Mahajans. So what he heard either in the womb or even before he met Prahlad, and before he met Narada, before Dhruva met Narada, did he hear from his grandfather? Probably. his uncle, Priyavrata, he went off to the forest. So it means there's bhakti in the family. Just that his father had this weakness. He was attached to Suniti, and Suniti knew it, so she was manipulating him. She's not nice. Suniti was not nice. But Uttanapada had bhakti. He just didn't have it. He had an attachment, so it was covered. But so likely he heard something, but not in the same mood and same attitude and same full surrender and everything. But likely he heard. He was in a Vaishnava family. So must have heard. Swayambhuva Manu was his grandfather. Must have heard. We don't have any details.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for setting up beautiful atmosphere. What we're gonna hear from you next 7 days about Dhruva Maharaj, and hope we can learn something.
I'm sure
I'm
you
going
will.
ahead a little bit. You saw the 7 keys, and the second key says honesty and Narad Muni's blessing. What honesty refers to?
What one has to do to get Narada Muni's blessings?
Honesty and Narad Muni's blessing. There
Oh,
was
the
a second-
honesty was when he submitted to Narada, he was very clear about this is where I'm coming from. He wasn't like painting something. It wasn't really honest. He was really honest. I want Vishnu because. And Narada said, with this kind of attitude, you're not going to get Vishnu. Vishnu, you have to be in the mode of goodness. You have to give this up. He said, your instructions are good, but I'm a Kshatriya and I can't give it up. He was honest. But they didn't sway him from wanting to get the association of Vishnu. And when Narada saw, boy, this boy is really determined. Okay. I'll give him mantra and I'll give him all the details and details and details and details and details and details. And so there was the honesty and the mercy. It wasn't just he touched his head, but he gave his mercy through the medium of instructions, because he knew the instructions were going to be taken to heart, and sure enough, he did. But his motive was very honestly expressed. As was, I want Vishnu. And you're a great devotee. I'm sure you can give me. You can bestow Vishnu upon me. It's in your power to do that. He had that faith in Narada. Yes, I know that you want to ask another question. I want to teach you to be patient. How's that? Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. What happened to the stepmother of Dhruva Maharaj? Was she forgiven by Dhruva Maharaj?
What happened later, when Vishnu appears and tells Dhruva that you're going to go back and rule the kingdom for 36,000 years, he also informs Dhruva that your stepmother is going to die in a fire. It's not like yay, you get back at your stepmother. But he's just like, that was the consequence for her offending a great devotee. She didn't get a reprieve because she's like, the stepmother of a great devotee. She had to accept the consequences of that offense. And she did. So that's what happened to her. She burned up in a fire. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Maharaj.
When we make offense, it's a really serious deal. You make offense against a pure devotee. You make offense against a devotee. And it's a serious thing. There's consequences. It's not that all the consequences are you're going to burn up in a fire, but there's going to be consequences. And there's ways of mitigating. You go to that devotee and beg forgiveness. Be in the back.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, just a follow-up question on
Sure.
that. So when he was leaving home in anger, he may not, I feel that he may not have been a pure devotee.
You think that he what?
He may not have been a pure devotee when he was leaving home.
He wasn't a pure devotee, but he was a devotee. His mother was a devotee. His grandfather was a pure devotee. He's in a family of devotees. He was a devotee. He wasn't a pure devotee. It's not that, well, so-and-so is not a pure devotee, so I can offend him. It's okay. It's not okay. Plus, there's other factors. He's a little boy. What she said was just downright snotty. And what did a little boy understand what she said anyways? But at least the body language was clear. It was harsh and offensive. But what was the mindset to speak something like that? And was he a devotee? He was a devotee. He wasn't yet a Shuddha Bhakta, but he was a Bhakta. Sakam Bhakti. Do you know any pure devotees? Or do you know any devotees that are mixed? So if there are devotees that are mixed, it's okay to offend them because they're not pure devotees yet. No. There's consequences. I mean, we need the association of devotees, and we also need to carefully guard against offenses. We need association of devotees. We must guard against offenses because it's serious business. Association of devotees is serious business. It's what will nourish our bhakti. It awakens our bhakti. It strengthens our bhakti. Serving the devotees strengthens our bhakti. Offending the devotees can be very detrimental. Is that all right? Okay. You get the microphone now.
Maharaj, can you throw some light on Dhruva Maharaj's...
On his what?
Can you throw some light on Dhruva's genuine humility with lot of lamentation? If I were in Dhruva Maharaj's situation, I would have been very happy for fulfilling all even material and spiritual desires. But why Dhruva Maharaj was lamenting so much? Of course, in genuine humility, but how to understand that, Maharaj?
Okay. Take the microphone. We'll get that. We'll get there when we get there. But how is it possible? The explanation is quite simple. If I had not had this strong material desire, when Lord Vishnu returned to his abode, I could have gone with him. I could have continued to be in his association. But because I had this stupid material desire, I have to stay here and be in his absence because of the stupid material desire. What a fool. That's the sadness. So yes, the material desire is fulfilled, but he no longer had the material desire. But because I had this material desire, now I have to hang out here for 36,000 years when I could have been with him. What a fool. Okay, I think we're done. On this side, anybody? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.